In this module, I'm going to go over working with track changes and its settings. When you collaborate on documents with others, you can track the changes made by various collaborators within the document. This allows you to keep track of who is making what changes so you can review and determine the changes to accept and those to reject. Let's go to our sample document and start working with track changes. First, let's turn on track changes. Now, there are two ways that you can turn on track changes. The first way is through the Review tab. So let's go to Review, go to the Tracking group, and click Track Changes. You'll notice once we clicked it, this area became grayed. That means that Track Changes is turned on within this document. The second way you can turn on track changes is through your status bar. So let's come down to our status bar and do a right click. If we come about halfway down, we've got the option Track Changes. You'll notice that it says it's on. If we click on it, it's going to add track changes to our status bar. Now we'll know when track changes is turned on within a document or not. And also, by having the feature on your status bar, you can click here to easily turn on and off the track changes. I personally like to have the track changes on my status bar, so when I open up a document, I know right away whether track changes is on or off. Let's go ahead and make a couple changes to the document, and then we'll go in and look at some of the settings. So let's highlight the heading and let's put a style on it. We'll come over and put heading 1 on it. Let's come down to this paragraph and delete it. And let's add a paragraph here. You'll notice when I was making changes within the document, it's tracking them for me. So for instance, when I came out and added the style to my heading, it gave me a balloon over to the side telling me who made the change and what type of formatting change it was. If I come down to my deletion and I hover over it, again it's going to tell me who made the change and when it was made, and it's also going to tell me what was deleted. Same thing if I come down to the area that I added. Again, who made it and when, and what was inserted. Now over on the left here, I've got a line denoting where changes were made within the document. If I click on this line, it's going to hide the track changes and put me in what's called Simple Markup View. And this is where you're looking at the document, the changes have been made to it, and it's denoting it with just a line. When I click on the line again, it's going to take me in so I can see the changes. So again, it's just a toggle. Let's go back over to our Review tab and click on the drop down for track changes. When we do this, we're given the option to lock tracking. What that means is it'll prevent people from turning off track changes so that all changes must be made through track changes. When you lock it, you need to put a password on it, so only the person with the password can unlock the tracking feature. Let's go ahead and look at some more of the options available through tracking. So let's go back to the tracking group and click on the More next to All Markup. Right now, we're viewing the track changes in All Markup. If we click on the down arrow, we switch it to Simple. That's what we had when we came over and clicked on the line. We can change it to No Markup. What this is like accepting all of the changes, but just for viewing and printing purposes. They're not actually accepted within the document. And we can go back to your original. And this shows us the document before any markups were made to it. And again, it's just for viewing and printing purposes. The only true way to get track changes out of a document is to accept or to reject the changes. Choosing No Markup or Original in the Display for Review box only helps you see what the final document will look like, as it only hides the track changes temporarily. So please keep that in mind when you're using that feature. The changes are not deleted, and they will show up again the next time anyone opens the document. So remember, to actually delete the changes permanently out of the document, you must accept or reject them. So I'm going to go ahead and put it back on All Markup so I can see all the changes in my document. Now if we come down one to Show Markup, this is going to show us everything that we've selected to show as a markup within the document. I'm showing comments, ink, insertions and deletions, formatting. If we come down to the balloon options, we can choose what we want showing in the balloons. Show revisions in balloons. When I do that, it's going to take the deletion out of the document and move it over and show it as a deleted in a balloon. We come back up to our balloons again, show all revisions in line. What that means is it's going to show everything within the document. You get no balloons. So the heading style change that we made is going to be shown only with the simple line. Deletions are shown with the strike through and insertions with the double underline. If we hover, we still get the information about it, but we're not going to see any balloons off to the side. Let's come back over to our balloons. Show only comments and formatting in balloons. Now this is the way I like to see it because I like to see my comments over to the side, and I also like to see my formatting changes over there. Because sometimes if you're showing it only within the document, it's easy to miss the sidebar. You also have another reviewing pane available to you when you're tracking changes. So let's come over and turn on our review pane. We have the option to put it horizontal or vertical, and this is going to show you all the revisions made within the document so you could scroll through them. I'm going to turn that back off and come back to our document. You can also go in and change how the track changes markups will appear within your document by going through the Advanced Track Changes Options dialog box. So we're going to click on the drop-down dialog box. It's going to take us into our Track Changes options, and we're going to come down to the bottom where it says Advanced Options and click on that. This opens up our Advanced Track Changes options dialog box, and from here we can change how we want our insertions to appear, how we want the colors to appear. Do we want it all the same color? Do we want it by author? We can change our deletions, our outside line, left, right. How do we want our comments marked? And we can also track moves. I've got it checked so that anytime anything moves within my document, it's going to mark that as well. And I'm also tracking my formatting changes. If we come back up to the colors chosen for insertions and deletions, by default, Word assigns a different color for each reviewer's insertions, deletions, and the formatting changes. However, you should note the assigned colors may change when the document is closed and reopened or when someone opens it on another computer. You may see the color on red on your computer, but if you're sending this to someone else, they may see it in purple or blue or another color on their computer. It's all based upon the computer that it's opened up on. Let's click OK and go back to our document. Click OK again. And now let's go through and accept and decline our changes. To accept and decline changes, that's done under the Changes group, which is to the right of Tracking. I can accept it or I can decline it. I've also got options for both, so if I clicked on the down arrow next to accept, I could tell it to accept and move to next. I could tell it just to accept this change and not move on. I can tell it to accept all changes, and I can also tell it to accept all changes and stop tracking. Now it will only stop tracking if tracking is not locked on this document. And if I come up to the reject options, I've got the same type of options. Now the default for both of them is to either accept and move to next or reject and move to next. So if I want to accept this one, I'm going to click accept. It's going to take me to the next one, and you'll notice once I accepted that, it removed my balloon and it removed the sidebar line. That's because the change was accepted, so the tracking on that text was removed. Now my next item here, let's go ahead and reject it. So even though it was marked for deletion, because I rejected it, it left it in my document and removed the redlining from it. And let's go ahead and accept the last change here. It's telling me there are no more track changes within my document. So I'm going to go ahead and say OK. I'm going to come down to the bottom and I'm going to turn track changes off. And you'll notice once I did that, it now says off and the gray around track changes was removed. Now if I come into my document and I make changes, it will actually make the change to the document without tracking. To review this module, we went over track changes. Track changes is under the Review tab. You turn it on with track changes here, or you can add the option to your status bar and turn it on from your status bar. Track changes gives you various options for how it shows the markups, all or simple. You can determine what you want it to show and how you want the balloons to be used. And as I noted earlier, the only true way to get track changes out of a document is to accept or reject the changes.